Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Financial Juneteenth and the Black Wealth Bootcamp. Now, I'm going to jump into something that might sound a little bit confusing, even a little bit controversial when you first hear it, but perhaps after you hear my arguments, you'll understand where I'm coming from. I'm a big believer in the value of going to college. My first book, the first book I ever wrote, was called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About College, and it was because I was such a strong believer in the importance of getting a college education as an opportunity to excel and to be successful in this world. I do believe that if you choose to go to college, you shouldn't just go to school. You should be fanatically committed to being the absolute best. So that means that you don't go to school and study 2 or 3 hours a week or right before you take a test. No, you study 5, 6 hours a day, every day, 6, 7 days a week, the same way you would approach a job. It doesn't make any sense that when you get in the workforce, you're willing to work 8, 10 hours a day because somebody tells you, but you can't sit down and study for 4, 5, 6 hours a day because somehow you want to go to the party or you think that that your future isn't worth your investment. So I want to start by saying that right there, that education is incredibly important. I strongly believe that Black people have to be fanatically committed to education and pushing our kids to excellence. That's where we'll start the conversation right there. Now, let me go a little bit deeper. The next component of this, and this is where I've gotten some pushback from people who didn't understand where I was coming from on this, but I'm going to explain it to you right now. Um, I really don't think in this current economic environment, given the changes that have occurred in America and in the world in the last 15 years, that college has to be the first and only choice for every family. And let me go into some reasons why college is no longer my number one draft pick when it comes to what you should do with your future. It doesn't mean college shouldn't be on the list. Doesn't mean college isn't a good option for a lot of people, but it does mean that there are many, many people who are walking away from college and that they're not stupid for doing so. The first thing I'm going to start with is the cost. The cost of college attendance has skyrocketed over the last several years. The last 20 years, the cost of going to college has gone up so much that that the government and federal officials who are making these policies that are causing the cost to go up, they're starting to be questioned for their decision making. Basically, this ready availability of massive student loans and grants and stuff like that, and the fact that college is a commodity that a lot of people will pay for at any cost, has led to students being saddled with so much debt that they are going to die in debt. What's the purpose of getting an education if you're going to die in debt? If you are going to have so much debt, you're starting your life with this massive mortgage, you will have so much debt that you will never know what it's like in your life at any point to have a positive net worth. That in that situation, it's hard not to say that going to college might have actually been worse for a person than not going to college at all. If you look at the data, for example, the amount of student loan debt has quadrupled in the last 10 years. You're seeing a lot of students really starting their careers way behind. Um, I don't know if going to college was a good decision for a lot of those people, especially people who studied in fields that don't provide a high enough income for them to handle the debt, or students who just went to schools that don't provide enough prestige or whatever, where that piece of paper that you get is actually worth anything. So the cost of college attendance is the first reason that I really think colleges are pushing themselves out of the market in terms of options that young people should consider for their future. The second reason that college attendance is not something that I automatically push for every intelligent or educated Black person out here is because of the economy. Number one, even if you're not Black, the economy has changed a lot. Those corporate jobs that you used to get 20, 30 years ago, they used to pay a whole lot more in real dollar terms. If you compare, 2015 dollars to 1985 dollars or whatever, people 20, 30 years ago were far better off with that corporate job than people are today. Corporations, like the Chris Brown song that these hoes ain't loyal. Well, these corporations ain't loyal. The fact of the matter is that these corporations, they don't give you job security like they used to. There was a time where you could get a job and be on this job for 30 years and it would be okay. Well, now those corporations will ax you in a second because they're trying to ship jobs overseas. They're keeping wages incredibly low. CEOs are doing well, employees are not doing well, and so ultimately, those corporate jobs that you're getting this paper certification for are not giving you what they used to give you. Now, let's go deeper. If you're black, let me tell you a couple statistics that you might want to keep in mind. There are studies that show that a white man with a criminal record has about the same opportunities of getting a job as a black man with a degree. A white man with a high school diploma has as good of a job opportunity to get a job as a black man with a degree. So racism is real. Black people are booted out of the economic system. Here's the thing, even if you do get the job, you're still sort of living life sometimes under this cloud of anxiety and suspicion where you know that if you get out of line just a little bit, you're going to lose everything. They're going to boot you out of the corporation. You're not going to have that opportunity anymore. You're not going to have that big house anymore, or that fancy car, or that big paycheck, or all those things that made you feel important. So I'm a big advocate because of this. I'm a big advocate of black people having their own businesses. In fact, I think every black person should own a piece of a business. You don't have to necessarily run a business, but everybody can own a piece of a business. Now, the third thing I want to throw in here is this. And this is where the game has really changed when it comes to getting what you need to know to be successful in this world. The internet has been an absolute game changer. There is more information available at the University of Google and the University of YouTube than there is at any university ever in the history of the world. There is far more information available online than there will ever be at anybody's university at any time. It's not to say that going to Harvard or the University of Tennessee or whatever can't be beneficial, that it can't be enjoyable for other reasons. But if you're thinking about it in terms of getting access to information, well, information has never in the history of the world been so readily available to so many people. So you don't have to go to college to get this information. You're talking to a guy who taught at 5 different universities over a 20-year period. I know what universities can do, and that's why I wrote a book about it, is because I know college is so valuable. But just because something's valuable doesn't mean it's your only option. And if you compare the high cost of going to college to the low cost of getting information online, it becomes a pretty interesting comparison at that point. In fact, one of the reasons I designed the Black Wealth Bootcamp is because I said, you know what, for $300, we can give people just as good information. I taught the same way I taught college kids. I teach my students on the internet. And also we can give them just as good of a network. We have 457 African Americans in our class, all of whom want to start their own businesses, all of whom are very conscientious and intelligent people who are sharing information, supporting each other, helping each other raise money, all that stuff. And I said, this is exactly why people go to Ivy League schools. This is exactly why people go to HBCUs. It's for the education and for the networking. So the long story short, the point here in all of this is college, it ain't what it used to be. I mean, that's just a fact. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm not saying that if you go that you're stupid. What I'm saying is that if you go to college for 4 years and you step out with $100,000 in loans that you know you'll never be able to pay back in your life, you have to really ask yourself if that's the only way that you can get what you need. And that's what I'm trying to say here. So anybody who thinks that I'm just saying college is bad, I'm not saying that at all. I've never been one of those people. I think college is great. I think it's fun. I think it's a great way to learn a lot of things. But right now, for black folks, there are other options. And given where we are in terms of wealth, the struggles that we have as a community when it comes to wealth building, it might be important for us to be very creative about getting the things we need and not just sort of going with the okie doke or doing what everybody else has been telling us to do for the longest time. That's it. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Wealth Bootcamp. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. I am gone. Peace.